Hello. Okay. So last recording, fortunately, one of the students had recorded the last lecture, so that has been already been uploaded, and you should find it on the YouTube channel. And hopefully, this recording will come out okay because I've done some changes to the recording, so I'm not sure. I was testing something, so I hope it turns out okay. Okay, with this, so today we are talking about cloud platforms. So, so basically, what does platform means? Platform means some kind of a base, which you give to somebody, right? So somebody, for example, if there is some, person who wants to, let's say, act in Bollywood, we say we provide a platform to the actor, or to that person who's a struggling artist. We give him a platform to act in, let's say, film. So that's what platform means. Platform means we provide a base to do something. So we create, so something is like, we are creating a foundation of the building. So the foundations of the building will create a platform. So based on this foundations, yeah, so based on this foundation, maybe you can, if this is a building, then, sorry, if you want to construct a building, then what we are doing, we are giving it a platform, so the foundations becomes a platform for building something. So that is what the meaning of the platform is. So remember this, okay? But the question is, so this is your building and this is the platform on which the building is built. So without the platform, the building cannot be built. Without a platform, somebody cannot get chance to, let's say, act in a Bollywood or something like that. In the same way, cloud providers provide the cloud platform. So let me see if I can delete this. Okay. So don't mix up when somebody says platform. Try to understand what platform they're trying to talk about. So we use platform even in within a cloud, which is called platform as a service. Okay. So this platform is a platform to build application. So you can create a Java application, or maybe a Python application. So that is a platform. So what platforms we use on a local machine to run Java program? We install Java, right? So when we install Java, what's get installed? We install JRE, right? Java Runtime Environment. So this gets installed, and then if you want to build application, we also have to make sure Java SDK is installed. So we installed Java Software Development Kit. Right. So this Java runtime plus Java Software Kit is a platform, and based on this platform, what are we able to do? So let me drag this down. Right. So platform as a service is a platform to build application, and on the other hand, cloud platform is a platform to you can say build cloud services. So build and use, you can see. So these are two different platforms which are meant for two different things, and these are both not exactly the same. So if you are using a Java platform, you can write some program, hello. So let's say, so you can write some program hello.java, and this can be compiled on the Java platform over here. Let's use so just be patient with my drawing because it's a little bit of struggle using all these tools. So hello.java is running in Java runtime environment, and who is providing this platform? This platform is provided by the platform as a part of platform as a service, right? And so what is platform as a service? In that case, it is one of the cloud services. So you need to distinguish between that. So this is one packet, you can say, which is on which you can pay for and use for. You may get it for free, something of that kind. So this is one of the services which is provided as a part of the cloud platform. So this is where you need to understand how things are different. So we have said that cloud platform is a platform to build and use cloud services, within which we have three. Mostly we are categorizing everything into three types of services. So one is your infrastructure as a service, then another one is your platform as a service, and the third part is your so let's say this is your infrastructure as a service, right? And so infrastructure as a service, you'll basically what all services you will get. You'll be able to create you'll get physical hardware at the right bottom, right? That is so you'll get at least you are accessing physical servers over here, and on the top of physical server, what do we build? We can create various virtual machines, just like in our demo or assignments. We created virtual machines on the top of a desktop server, you can say. So on top of these virtual machines, we can so basically this is at the right base virtual machine. There are many virtual machines created on different physical servers. We have spoken about this even the last time. Now if you want to create anything, you have to create it on the top of the machine, right? So last time we installed we created a virtual machine and we installed an operating system. On that operating system we installed a platform over here. So this could can I just take this much part? So on the top of this, your platform was installed, and that is how everything. Your platform does not work without the infrastructure. You need a virtual machine first. On the top of that, you need to um make sure you have your operating systems, and you on the top of that you create your platform. And on the top, so using your Java runtime platform, you're creating an application. Now this application can be you can create some website also over here, right? You can, it's not only hello.java, you can have a platform to create another platform, let's say, where you can create websites. So these websites, so you, for the websites, what do we need usually? Websites, we need web servers to be installed. So you might get Apache web server. So let's say example, that is one of the web server example. And in Microsoft, if you consider, the web server can be IIS, Internet Information Server. So this is the web servers. Internet Information Server is a web server for Microsoft, and provided by Microsoft. And if you're for Java, you find Apache web server is the most popular web server. So this is a platform, right? Again, so this platform, so left hand side, Java runtime, Java software development kit, this is helping you create Java application. Apache web server, what you can do with that, you can create hello dot, let's say, HTML page. You can create hello dot JavaScript file which will run in your browser. You can create hello dot CSS file for designing your web pages. So if you have utilized, if you have created websites, a simple website, then all these things, you have created using a web server. Right, now this also runs on the top of the hardware. So remember this, anything, all of this, all of this is platform as a service. This entire thing, can I color it? Struggling a bit with paintbrush. Right, and on the bottom, it is running over what? It is running over a infrastructure. Without using a infrastructure, you really cannot so without the, you cannot do anything without an infrastructure. The first thing that you need to begin with is provide the infrastructure. And what the way you can provide infrastructure is by creating virtual machines. That is the provision that is given by cloud providers. This color is too dark. Okay. This is better. What happened? So you're creating basically all softwares. So this, if hello.html, hello.js, hello.cs, you can access it using software as a service. And so this section, which is like, as I said, hello.html, hello.js, hello.cs, these are all part of your software. So software services. But the platforms that it is using, maybe a web server, maybe a runtime engine. So just like this Java runtime environment, you can have any environment, right? You might have a Python environment given to you. So Python environment may be given to you. You might be able to create Node.js applications. You can do anything. So so cloud providers install all these platforms for you and give it with readily, so that you don't have to install any platform. That is your service that you get. You simply select that service, cloud service, and start programming. So in the same way, you might have a platform which so we are going to come up with, let's say, MapReduce implementations in your later. So this is one of the platform which, if you have the one example of this is Hadoop. So you can be provided Hadoop platforms also. Now Hadoop platform is little bit complex. It is not involves only one machine. It may involve minimum 2 machines. And but you don't have to worry about installing that, and you can simply go ahead and say, I want to use MapReduce platform which is Hadoop based, and there may be other MapReduce platforms. And so what MapReduce is, we will look at it later, but the idea is, what are any software that is used to build your applications, whether it is your desktop application, whether it is your web application, whether it is your distributed application or a kind of a MapReduce application, whether it is your machine learning application, all those platform is provided by the cloud provider using through their cloud services. So this is what cloud platform means. So do remember, I have not seen a question on cloud platforms being asked in your exams. Usually they say, please write up something on cloud services. When you say cloud services, then you're talking about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. But specifically, if somebody is asking you about cloud platforms, then you are going to talk about all of this, whatever we spoke. Plus, you're going to talk about the examples. In your examples, you need to talk specifically about AWS, Google, and Azure. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, is Saurabh is facing some network issue. Anybody else is facing any issue so far? Okay, great. Anyway, Saurabh, we do have a recording which is, I'm getting recorded everything. I'm going to upload it, and then you can see it later also. But for your understanding purpose, at least you can have a look at it. So now that we understand what cloud platform means, what platform as a service, how it is different, what is cloud services, we will dig a little deep now into the specific cloud platforms. So let me, can I use the same thing? So maybe we can talk about a little bit over here. So let's look at, let me save this as. AWS. Okay, so now when we go to cloud platforms, you have to understand, you have to know, if you want a virtual machine, which service you have to select. If you're going for a physical server, which service you're looking for. If you want to run your Python or a Node.js program, which service are you looking for? So you need to know which services represent each type of service. Like if you want to go for web server, so Apache web server, what all options do you have in AWS? And the names of the services may change across different cloud platform. So we have to know what those names are in different services. So you can probably so after this lecture, make sure you go to each cloud provider. So let's say aws.com. You should definitely go to each and every cloud provider, and you look at what all products and solutions they have on the screen. So let us say the example. Let's see. Even I'm not, seen this link, but let me see. So it says it provides EFS for containers. So definitely there's container services in AWS. Anything else? Products. Let's see products. Okay, products look good. So you see all the server platforms that it is providing. It is providing an analytical platform. So analytics is related to your big data, your business intelligence, right? So all this platform is provided for you. So you just need to select this platform and start using it. And here you have EMR. EMR is your MapReduce platform. It's called Elastic MapReduce, and it is created using Hadoop framework. It's clearly saying here. See? So if you are using Amazon EMR, you are most likely looking at hosted Hadoop framework already been installed for you. You can simply go ahead and start using it. So you have Amazon QuickSight if you're into business intelligence, so where you're visualizing a graph of all the people who are going through pandemics, right? We're let's say in the midst of pandemic, and we want to see visualize, do some analytics on it, and do some reporting on that in the form of graphs. So what all you can use? You can use QuickSight to show your graphs, and QuickSight can work with which other tool? It can probably use your analytical tools. So Redshift is your data warehouse. So you have blockchain, you have compute, containers, databases that you want. So in databases you have DynamoDB. So if you want a NoSQL database, you can use DynamoDB, right? If you want to use a MySQL database, you can go for Aurora. It says high performance managed relational database. MySQL is a relational database. So they have come up with something, quantum ledger database. I do not know what is this, but it's interesting. So I am personally looking forward to see the quantum computing services that is going to be come up. Amazon is talking about it, but that is one of the futuristic computing solution, quantum computing. So you see, there's so much of platforms I have created around for your project ideas. I've already given you 75 project ideas across all these categories. I've picked up each one of this for you, and I told you in this you can probably do something, and that something can become your project. It doesn't have to be a very big thing. You can just use one service and do something with it. That can be a project, and it will easily take you some time, because you don't get so much time to do your project. So might as well don't do too much of big things. Just focus on one skill set that you want to master and pick up that from the cloud. If you want to do something in machine learning, you can go for something known as SageMaker, SageMaker, you can create machine learning models, and you can test your predictions. If you want to use reinforcement learning, if you have done machine learning, there is something known as reinforcement learning. So that is so we have Deep Racer over here. This tool is specifically revolving around reinforcement learning type of category of machine learning. In machine learning, you have different types of machine learning, right? One where you can manage, where you provide the data and you teach the machine, and another is where the machine learn on its own using the data set. So all by itself, you just have to provide the data. You don't choose anything for your machine learning platform. So you can installing all these platforms. Let's say if you wanted to do anything in machine learning, ideally you have to first install, and installing is not an easy task, because this installations requires a lot of complex softwares and sometimes a lot of machines. So it is better that you straight away use the cloud services, use the available platform, and start building on that. You straight away, so your time is saved. You don't have to install, you don't have to configure anything. So this is AWS Amazon.com, which you so there might be one assignment coming up on AWS after this unit gets over. So I would recommend that you all create an AWS account for yourself. So you need to go for a free tier account. So remember this. It has to be free tier. You have to be very careful that you are not going to be charged on this. So with this free tier, you are going to get 12 months you can use, but maximum 750 hours. So you get this 12 months free, 750 hours, and you need to keep checking the billing section, whether you have not crossed this limit and you are not billed. The moment you need to delete whatever resources you are using, whatever platforms you're creating, make sure you delete it, because if you have created some platform on AWS, you are charged by either by second, for every second, or for every hour, or for every or for some storage limit. If you are kind of using AWS service, let's say you're creating a 5 GB S3 bucket or something, you'll be charged for this. So remember, you have to be careful when you're using these services, that you don't cross the limit. And the best option is whatever you create, you use it, you learn, and you delete it, so that the resources are not lying on the cloud. So using these 750 hours, you can do a lot of practicals. And we went through AWS course, where I've kind of seen most of you have probably not done your practicals. It seems like that way, and that is not a good thing, because you will not gain the skills or practice to do anything in future. If you don't get the skills, ultimately theory is one thing, but how to apply the theory and create something out of it, that is what the market looks for. So from the job perspective, you need to keep trying all these things using your own hands. You just cannot learn theory and not be able to do anything and look up for a job. It is very competitive market. So at least start attempting all this. You get all these free services. I'm giving you a free course. You need to do the practicals. So whenever you don't do your practicals, whatever I give you or whatever has been offered to you by these cloud providers, you are missing an opportunity, and it will take a long time for you to get. It can affect your progress. So try not to do all this. This is a good time to study and implement and try to learn. Okay. What is the other thing? So this is cloud.google.com, right? So cloud.google.com is your Google cloud provider. So again, Google Cloud Platform, has its own way of giving you databases, application, modernization. Hold on. It has its machine learning platform, analytical platform. So you have a choice, whenever let's say you want to build a machine learning program. So you have a choice as to which cloud platform you want to choose. Do you want to choose AWS cloud platform? Do you want to choose Azure cloud platform, or do you want to choose Google cloud platform? So now how you make a choice and why you make a choice towards a cloud platform, that is again you need to understand the differences between all these three. Are all three the same? That is what you need to look out for. What are they what are they specializing in? What is their core strength? What are they good at? So you need to understand these companies, their history, how they have evolved and what they are good at, and that is how you'll be able to decide which providers you have to go for. So it is not necessary that you have to choose only one cloud provider. You can choose your application which interacts with two different cloud providers at the same time. In the single system, I can do some work which is done by Google cloud provider. I can do some work which is provided by Amazon Web Service cloud provider. If I can do some work which is done by Microsoft Azure cloud provider. So why I will have multiple cloud providers? But maybe because they have a specialty, they have a particular type of experience. So if you have two builders, one builder has been building skyscrapers and one builder has been building Taj Mahal, and then these builders, they come up on the market and saying, okay, I am AWS builder, and another one is saying I am a Google builder. So why will you go to the Google builder? So you will see his history, right? What has been Google cloud provider specialized in? You will certainly see they are very specialized in, they have an experience of building skyscrapers. So if you have to build, if your application involves building a skyscraper, then you would go for Google cloud provider, because Google has an experience to build skyscrapers. But if you want to build Taj Mahal, then maybe you have to go with I don't know which, did I use Amazon Web Service name? Maybe Amazon Web Service was a cloud provider which built Taj Mahal in the past. So if your application involves building Taj Mahal, go with that cloud provider. But let's say now you want to build a city with a Taj Mahal in the center with five skyscrapers around it. Now what you're going to do? So one option is you go with only one cloud provider. But why will you go for that? When one is specializing in Taj Mahal and another one is specializing in skyscraper, let me do an application which uses both. Using web services, ultimately we are using all these cloud providers, we are connecting on the internet. It doesn't matter now we are connecting to one web service on Google or another web service on Amazon, or maybe third web service on Microsoft Azure. It doesn't matter to us, because everything is working using web services, everything is working using REST services. Now AWS, I'm connecting right now to, I can, once I create this and I say I want an EC2 service, I'm saying I'm going to create a virtual machine. Where is that virtual machine? Virtual machine is created on some physical server. Where is that physical server? Physical server is on some data center in some region and some availability zone, maybe in Mumbai. So we are using an actual machine, of the cloud provider over here. I think I probably missed some point what I was trying to remember. But anyway, the idea is everything works on the web. So it doesn't matter, what language, how I'm connecting to that cloud provider. Everything works on your HTTP protocol. Everything you can utilize internally. Cloud provider uses web services to provide you all the services. Just like we created a assignment where we had 3 web services created: one customer web service, accounts web service, and transaction web service. Those are 3 different web services. Now the front-end user who is using my website doesn't know how I'm utilizing, how I'm providing them that service. He cannot see the back-end web services that I've created. For one website, I've created 3 web services. The user does not know. In the same way, this, so this is a console called management console. It is your front-end screen through which you can request for services. So once you create your account, you can sign into the console and start using all these services. But the idea is through the management console, I do not know behind the scene how the cloud provider is providing me the services. Internally, it is using lot of cloud technologies that we spoke about. Internally, it is using virtualization, hypervisors, it is using web services, it is using REST services. So it is a complex implementation of infrastructure and your different cloud technologies. Okay, in the same way, let's see Azure. I don't even know the name of the website. So we have an Azure free tier. If you want to, if you're this, you have to go for. So be careful which provider. So this is the correct one, I think. Azure, Microsoft.com. Here also you get 12 months of free services. So here you see you can build app that recognizes people needs with Azure Cognitive Services. So so basically, Cognitive Services. It says you want to. It says interpret natural human communication. So you may be having a speech service. You want to create your own. You must have used if you're using iPhone, then you have definitely heard about Siri. If you're using Amazon any service, you have definitely heard about Alexa. Then in Microsoft, I don't remember. I keep forgetting all these speech services. Anyone? Okay. So so basically you can let's say you wanted to create a speech service for people to understand. Let's say want to take admission. You are a principal of the school and you want students to get admission using a speech service. I want an MSc admission. Some student will talk on the phone. Automatically the admission website should come up. The course that he mentioned, that should come up, or the links to that, whatever relevant material, it should automatically come up based on the speech command. So to build such kind of applications, you need cognitive services, and Microsoft has its own set of cognitive services. It has its own set of tools, and so ideally I would go for Microsoft Azure if I'm building anything in .NET, or if I want to use their platform, Visual Studio platform. So they have a very extremely rich platform to that we can use to build anything. So cognitive services is just one of them. You can almost build anything on Microsoft, right? But most of Microsoft platforms, they are a little costly compared to your open source. If you're using any open source technologies. So cost is also one of the reason why one would try to see whether you should go for Microsoft, or whether you should go for Google, or whether you should go for AWS. Now in the market, all these three companies, they first AWS came into the market, then Microsoft came into the market maybe few years later. So Microsoft was not there right from the beginning. In 2009, AWS was the first cloud provider, and then after few years Microsoft joined the competition. Then after few years Google joined the competition. Now the largest market share right now, means largest number of customers is sorry, where yeah, Cortana. Yeah, that is the cognitive services we're talking about. So Chaitanya has mentioned in the chat Cortana. That is right. So that's good. Where I was, keep forgetting the. What I was talking about. Yeah, market share. Very good. Thank you, Om Prakash, right? Om Prakash. You should type your name, Mojo Jojo, type Om Prakash so that I'll know whom I'm talking to. Anyways, right. So we were talking about Omkar. Okay, Omkar Parab. Thank you, Omkar. Uh, so we are talking about market share so who is having a maximum market share right now? I will AWS is in the market share with a market share. AWS is a 40% market share. That is what that video which I spoke to you about. You should have a look at that. It's a very good video. Where even I didn't know some part of it, and but I keep learning by so this video will tell you that AWS has 40% market share. So and then immediately Microsoft is not too behind. It has got a 30% 30% market share. So AWS, let's go back to my diagram. Can I remove all this? So yes, for now let's so AWS has 40% market share. Azure, which is Microsoft, has 30%, and Google don't remember, but it is somewhere close. It is less than 30%. It is the third number in the list. Now, so you have to be careful when you're watching this, videos. Okay, which video I was talking about? Where it is? Right. In this video, see when he is talking, then he will be more inclined to say, "Oh, Google Cloud Provider is good." That is what, and I'm not like confronting that part, but you need to make sure, you have to know that when somebody is saying something is good, just don't believe something is good. You have to have your own idea, own perception, own judgment. You cannot believe whatever has been spoken on the internet and say somebody is saying Google Cloud Provider is good. No, maybe he's we do not know who's been paid for what, and how this things are working in the scenes. All three are competitors. How this competition is working in the back end, and how Azure has got 30% market share, we do not know. So you need to have your own evaluation, as an architect. Not so you all you all have to rise to the level of architect eventually. You have to, and that is what is MSc education level is all about, right? You cannot be simply be programming just in Java and be content. That is not MSc level. MSc level, you have to get to the architect level, and by the time you come out of your MSc, you have to be aware about all these technologies, why you should go for one. So you should be little more mature in your experience and skills and knowledge. But definitely, one of the points. So let's assume this is for 20% for now. The idea is this is a third largest provider. Now Google, though it is at third place, one of the points which is really making me think, it can create virtual machines, spin up virtual machines very fast compared to AWS. AWS may take 30 seconds or something to start your machine, but they say Google can start, in you can start any machine in very few seconds. And so let's say AWS. Now this is just an example, but it is somewhat, it can be close. I have seen AWS taking around 30 seconds, 1 seconds to start. If you create a EC2 service, it will take some time. Hold on. Is there any? Okay. So what I was saying is, my AWS and Azure seems to be, on the terms of the time taken to create a single machine. It seems to be something similar. So when we say starting a machine, it does not mean, it is only at the startup time. Okay. For the first time when you try to use this service, that is the time taken to create the service, you can say. We are talking about that time. We are not talking once a service is created, it will be quick to use it. Okay, it is allocated to you, so that is not a problem. So every time, so it is at the installation time, or every time you stop and start the machine, that time also you have to keep in mind. So if you're once you're created your machine and it is running, then there is no, you don't have to calculate this time, right? Then it is going to run as per the performance of the machine. If the processor is very fast, if it is a very powerful machine, then it will keep on running at that pace. It depends on the type of machine which you have requested. So but what is the difference, why this matters, is because on the cloud we are dealing with millions of virtual machines, right? We are not dealing with one virtual machine, and this all these millions of virtual machine is been created by thousands and 10,000s and lakhs of customers all over the world. And that has been this virtual machines, where it is, who is supposed to create it? It is created in data centers. So data centers is, so who is running the data center? It is a cloud provider. So how fast they can create a virtual machine will impact, right? Eventually we are not talking about one machine, you're talking about millions of virtual machine. What if million customers comes and says, I want to create a new machine? How fast the cloud provider can create a million virtual machines in 30 seconds? That would be the benchmark. So that's why this timing is important, one of the factors that is important. So if you are having a very complex set of computing needs, so computing needs means, let's say I want to create a scientific experiment with which has to process your your gene model or something. Now that your genes model may contain data in, in petabytes. So how can we take so much data and process it so fast? So everything may not be, you cannot execute on one machine. You might have to use something like MapReduce model, where it is a combination of many machines. So it is a combination of many machines belonging to a single cluster. And in those kind of requirements, you may want to go with a provider who can manage a distributed application, which can execute a distributed application very fast. And who is very fast? Google. So Google has, even before AWS came in 2009, and it was one of the how do I, let's put it over here. So AWS came in 2009. Yes, we can understand it is the first cloud provider, but Google has always been there as a search program, right? Right from, I can, when I graduated in 1997, somewhere around this time, Google came into the market, and it was one of the, before Google, Yahoo was there. And Yahoo, everybody was using Yahoo search, but when Google came, the market changed. Google search program came, it was it kept on getting faster and faster and faster. Whenever you search on Google, how many seconds does it take for that search results to come up? There are many records that is shown on one page. So how does Google manage it? So Google is managing using its own platform. So it does not mean Google did not have its own cloud. Google had was not a cloud provider to the general public, but it had its own cloud services, which it had its own platforms. So it was not that Google was never there. Google was always there in the picture, but they never they used their platforms only for themselves. And and this is where when they became a cloud provider, they didn't do anything totally out of you know they did not create something totally new. What they did was they simply provided you access to their platforms. So that is the best business strategy, right? So today I'm a wholesaler. Let's say I am selling onions. I'm a kind of a middleman, a broker who goes to the farmer, and I have a godown which has got all onions, and my model is working very superb. And I give this all these onions to some many private retail sellers, but tomorrow I open up this for general public to come directly to me and take my wholesale product at a cheaper price. you know that business model is an expanding model, and it increases my business. I don't have to create new go downs. I just have to take my platform and provide it to the general public now, so that way my business also grows. Okay, so this is the main difference between Google and AWS. In case of AWS, if you study, they what were they good at? They were good at selling books. This is where they started. Started selling books online. This was their main business. Before 2009, they were selling books, and later on, so when they started selling books, they started creating websites for themselves, for their own application. But what happened is they grew so much that they started selling millions of books. So suddenly, lot of code was written, and it started becoming complex also. So it became a very big complex system, and that is when they started looking into the technologies that can be used to create, to run this particular platform. That is where they started using virtualization technology inside the company. They still did not go outside and become a cloud provider as yes. Or okay, can people confirm if you all can hear me, see me, because I'm keeping on talking and just want to make sure you all are able to hear and see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Uh, okay, so AWS somewhere around I'm going to again use 1997, around 1997, because that's the time, or not 1997, I'll say 1999. That's when I started hearing about AWS coming into the market. I was in US that time. I was in 1999, like 2 years after my first job. I was in US, and all these internet applications were coming into the market. So Google was already there in 1990, around 1997. They were kind of one of the companies which was just beginning to compete. There was no maps, Google Maps that time. That was Google search was the main bread and butter for that company. So they used to hire PhDs and try to create something complex algorithms to do faster search. So the technology which Google was working on what to solve their problem was altogether different. Their problem statement was search algorithms, and search algorithms required compute power or computing distributed computing solution. So they were mastering in a very different area. But AWS was mastering in what? It was mastering in virtualization. It was basically kind of, they required a lot of infrastructure. They were mastering in web services, because that is what is used to create a very strong, manageable, complex softwares, right? Okay, so just that too much of text on the screen. So just remember, this above this line is your AWS. Okay, I'm still talking this. All this is AWS. I'm talking about 1999. Now they were selling books. They were using virtualization infrastructure, web services, and everything. So, so what happened is in 2009, AWS became very good at selling books. They had very powerful, but architectures. Not they didn't only have engineers, but they had good architectures, and they realized this architecture is so beautiful. You can these technologies are so powerful. You can almost build anything out of it. It was like the foundation platform on which your cloud services can be provided, and that is when they expanded their business and they went into the market as a cloud provider. So the first service which was provided by AWS was EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. This is nothing but just a name for your virtual machines. So if you want to create a virtual machine, this was the only service which they provided. Okay, that was the first service. And later on they started adding service such as SQS, a queue service. So what are queues is something you should know. I hope, I do not know whether I'll get time or not, but they had SNS service, notification service. So they started adding up one service after the other, AWS, and today you have hundreds of services. You have an ML service, you have your cognitive services in AWS, so you can build Alexa skills over here. You can use Poly tools, you can use translate tools, you can do a lot of things on AWS. So there is more than 100 plus services today, and they have a infrastructure with 22 regions, more than 22 plus regions, and Mumbai is one of the regions which they have. So it has been a last 11 years they have been growing up. And when Google came into the market, they had what was the platform basically based on? It was based on let's go with different color, maybe red. So they had Google file system where see, ultimately search program is dealing with files, right? So Google has its own file system. It is based on their own technology, and they are the it was initially it was Google who provided the MapReduce platform. So all these terms that you are new to, what is a queue, what is MapReduce, what is a notification, you need to study. Okay, you need to read up a little bit, try to understand it. But if I do get time, definitely MapReduce is we are going to speak up a little bit on the in the future, future meetings. So you have Google, you have Google Data Store. So all your search programs definitely they need database. So Google has its own database. It's called Google Data Store, and it has got something known as BigQuery also. And this is something you have to look at. I have not looked into it. In fact, I have not looked at Google services at all. But the idea is Google extends its own platform as cloud services to the public. So that is what they were master in before. That is what they are providing cloud services. Now Google must be organizing itself as time is passing by. It is creating regions, it is creating data centers, it is extending its cloud its own platform. So if you want to use Google systems, then definitely you have to go with a Google Cloud provider. Okay, so and same way we have Azure over here, another competitor in the market. So what is the history of where does Azure come from? Azure comes from Microsoft, right? So again you have to look into the history, what they were good in. Which color? Running short of colors, is it? Let's go with this color. Hold on. Okay. Just want to confirm you all have a lecture, right, at 5 today, or do we have? Just want to make sure. Okay. Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can hear you.
Yeah. Do you have lecture at 5 or something?
Just let me check.
Um, okay. If it is, then just type it over here and I will know. But because I am trying to hurry up and not teach you some of the things which I wanted to cover up, like Q and little bit talk about all these things. Okay, so but when we look at Microsoft, what was Microsoft good at? What do you remember the first thing in Microsoft? When I in again I will go back to when I graduated, right? So I was 1997. That is when I graduated. So what was there in Microsoft? So there was no Windows at all. There was something known as DOS, and we had to go to VSNL was our internet provider. It had just come into the market where internet providers would. Can you hear me? My headphone speaker has gone down. Can you hear me? Hello. So can you hear me? My headphone speaker has gone down.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, I don't want to hurry up. I think I thought this will finish fast, but it did not finish. Yeah, there was. We'll continue with this diagram tomorrow. So just remember, keep this diagram in mind and take a screenshot also if you want. But we are going to talk about cloud platforms and continue tomorrow on this. And will most likely continue with Microsoft, you know, cloud platform, and then maybe start talking about compare all the three and see what we can look into it. So for today, I think we will wrap up. Is there any other question you'll have? Since you'll have having a lecture at 5, I don't want to hurry up. And so, is there any question you have? Let me take the attendance. October 7th. Okay. Okay, some of you are joining very late. So Azhar had joined very late, so please don't do that. Apurva, Tanya, Pranav, Priscilla and Rochelle. And anyone else? Shefali, Shubham. Okay, so I have taken the attendance. Okay, so the attendance is taken. So we will end the session. My headphone is also power is down. I'm using speakers. What is, sir? If the products are same between all services, sorry, what? So if the products are same between all services, can we switch the data between them? What, I don't understand what does that mean, but
Hello. Hello.
yeah, go ahead, Chaitanya. I'm speaking through speakers, so it's a little difficult for me to hear out, but go ahead.
Sir, can you? Sir,
Hello, Chaitanya. Chaitanya, I'm not able to hear you, but I'll take this question. We'll continue with this next time, okay? So it's a good question, but we'll take up because I'm not able to hear you. Not next time is tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow is a lecture 3. I don't think tomorrow you have lecture, right?
hello.
Yeah, Chaitanya.
Sir, can you hear me now?
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Sir, if we start doing some work in AWS
Huh.
and we do that, like 20% of work has been done in AWS,
Okay.
and we have to switch to Google Cloud or Azure. So, using the 20% of data which we have done in AWS, can we switch to Google Cloud or Azure? Like 20% of data which has been done in AWS, we will continue further from 20% in Google Cloud.
Right.
Can we do that?
Yeah, we can do. Basically, you need to shift your. There are different options, right? One option is you take that database and you migrate it to Azure. Let's say you have a database. In databases, what do we have? At a very high level data. You have to understand database types for that. So, can you
Okay.
see the different database types that you are aware about?
Sir, I know MySQL, I know DynamoDB.
So,
I know
my
NoSQL.
sorry. What is
NoSQL, MySQL, and DynamoDB.
Yeah, okay, NoSQL is basically a database type. It is not a database
Okay.
product. MySQL is a
Okay.
product. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let's we have around 20 minutes, so let's talk a little bit on that now. We'll continue with this tomorrow, but this cloud platform, but we'll address a query little bit about yours today. Okay. Okay. So first, so you have AWS over here. Okay, I like that question. Very nice. From architecture perspective, you are thinking from that perspective, and that's very good. If you're talking about database, let's say I create a database. Now in database, what are the database types? You have to understand what all types of databases are there. At a very high level, we are looking at SQL database types, NoSQL database types, and file databases. Means file systems. Your data is there in the files. So you're looking at your NoSQL actually is your files also. You can say this is your sorry, or we'll say okay, not NoSQL. You can say this is semi-structured files. Okay, semi-structured files is where the example is JSON, and the third type is it is a non-structured. It is like unstructured file. So something like your video file is an unstructured. You don't have video files are stored in a particular format, but you will have to write a program into it and read it and interpret how it is. It is not the same structure that is used for all videos. And semi-structured, the example is JSON. It uses JSON file to store your key and pair. You need to understand what are the different type of semi-structure possible. You have to understand database. You need to study database. It should be there in your data analytics portion. And SQL, definitely you go into the software at design time, you create tables and records, and that is all that, you create tables and fields and keys, for, which is like primary keys and foreign keys. So when you are talking about transferring data, you are talking about transferring either SQL data type, or either you're talking about NoSQL, or either you're talking about unstructured. So let's say if I have 20% MySQL in over here. Now MySQL is stored as a file, right? So if I want to now switch to Azure service, it is very simple that I take this file, whatever file I have, and place it I take this file and shift it to another cloud provider. It is as simple as shifting a file, right? If I'm using a software such as SQL Server, this also creates your data file, that is, and it also creates your log file. Something, you'll have to figure out what are those files. So you can ultimately everything that you do, any program that you write, whatever data is associated is stored somewhere. So it is a matter of migrating that from here to here. So in Azure, you will have to see what all database services you have over here. In AWS, you will have, in AWS, if you look at, you will have something known as RDS. So you can use, this is a managed data service provided by this, but this is based on SQL databases. So SQL databases examples are SQL Server. So this is your database product. You have Oracle over here, and so on. So if you can probably use, so in AWS, they have a storage database migration service. So you can use this service to transfer the data. This is one way of transferring the data without transferring the files. So it will directly connect to the database and transfer it to wherever you want. That database may be anywhere. It may be on some cloud provider, So you can transfer some database anywhere. So that can be a cloud provider, or your own machine, or a company, it doesn't matter. So in database migration service, now this is all about databases, okay? There is something known as ETL. Can anyone tell me what is ETL? This is a very big word in databases. Can anyone hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming you all are, I don't know, this, if you all, these are all very important things, you know, very basic things. And this is all database study. I'm teaching you a little bit of database now. Okay. So, so basically ETL is basically, let's say I have your A, data in my source database. So I can, the first process is to extract it. So extract it means pulling the information, like I'm taking A and getting it over here. Then if I want to transform this, whatever value of A is, I want to add B to it. Okay, and that will become C. And so this process is called transform process. Like before sending the data to the my destination database, I'm transforming it, and load means I am saving C into my final database. So what I start with A becomes C over here. So so if you want to transfer a database, you have 20% database and you want to transfer somewhere, you have to have your database migration strategy, how you are going to shift. That is one way you can do. And there is some other techniques also can be used, where I have my own program. So this is, let's say I have my program over here. And my program will connect to some kind of a database, which is a database model which is neutral. So neutral database, let's say OOPS database, object oriented. So this is also a program which internally can connect, which on the back end can connect to different databases. So I may use a MySQL database, but the source of the database can change. So my 20% database may be here, and 20%, 80% database may be here. I may have this kind of model also. It just depends on how I'm designing. So here I'm backend, I'm connecting to both the database, but this database for my program, I don't have to worry about which are the backend databases that I'm connecting to. I will have a neutral OOPS database, and my program will be connecting to that. So you have to work with database solutions. We have this is a whole area of database and database analytics, because your data may be coming from different sources. So you might be using something known as Kafka, which can connect to different data sources and everything, and because you cannot say that my data is going to come only from one source. Your data can come from SQL database, a NoSQL database, or an unstructured file. It can come from all three different sources at the same time, in the same system, in the same program. So you have that kind of problem statements also. But if you're saying, no, I want to transfer or shift, then you're looking at something such as ETL program to do the transfer, extract, transform, and load process, which can be done through tools like database migration service. If you're using Azure and you want to migrate the data, then you have to look at Azure migration services. So does that clear part of your doubts, or did you get some idea, Chaitanya?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So just dig up into
AWS is an infrastructure as a service, and Google Cloud is a platform as a service. So, wouldn't it shouldn't be that easy, to transfer some files from IIS to PS?
Yeah, that is true. What you're talking about, infrastructure as a service, but it is not true. You're transferring from IIS to PAS. You're transferring from platform to platform. In
Okay.
AWS, you have DynamoDB. DynamoDB is not an IaaS service; it is a PaaS service.
Okay.
And DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. So if you have a NoSQL database, you can transfer the NoSQL database into any other NoSQL database very easily, because
Okay.
NoSQL is a database concept, and database concepts doesn't matter who is implementing in what format. At the bottom line is everyone is using some kind of a JSON structure. Everyone is using some kind of a key pair strategy to use their data, to store their data. So to transfer a NoSQL to NoSQL is definitely not a problem. If you have to
Okay.
transfer NoSQL to MySQL, let's say for example, then you have to use some kind of a ETL process in between, which will extract the data and transform it in the MySQL format and load it into the MySQL databases. So that is dealing with your database migration strategy.
Okay.
Okay, so it is always platform to platform. If you want to shift machines at the infrastructure, you're talking about machines. That now can be difficult. Now that can be easier. How it can be easier? Only if you are using something known as a containers. Okay. Now container
Okay.
is a you can say it is more of a somewhere between infrastructure and platform. It is also dealing with infrastructure, but at the same time it is it is vendor neutral. It means it doesn't matter to me which cloud provider I'm working with. So a good architect will always make sure everything is packed into containers. That is a very good practice, because when you're packing everything in a container, you can pack a DynamoDB inside a container. You can pack your database inside a container. When you pack everything in the container, then you don't have to shift your data, right? You just take your container and put it there, because the container will contain the operating system, will contain all the dependent modules that it needs to operate. You don't have to do the data migration in that case. Your container contains everything to operate. The only thing that the cloud provider needs to provide is the container service, and then you have to look out for in the market what are the containers, most prominent container service in the market. What we have, can you tell me what are the most famous container service in the market? Any answer? Okay, so I'm typing it down. Dockers and Kubernetes. Kubernetes, I do not know how to pronounce it. I've never heard anyone saying this word properly. I do not know how is it pronounced, but I'm saying it's Kubernetes or Kubernetes. Dockers and Kubernetes. So if you are dealing with migration, then definitely you have to have a skill how to use Dockers, Kubernetes, how to do the migration, when to go for database migration versus when to go for container migration. Container migration is much easier, and it is Kubernetes and Docker services are provided by almost all cloud providers. Just like Java is one of the common programming language provided by all over the world, you can think of Docker and Kubernetes dominating the containers services world. So at the IaaS level, I would be focusing on Dockers and Kubernetes. It is not about database. If you're looking at platforms, then it is very platform specific. If you have to transfer your Java programs, and you have to see how to transfer the Java programs, the best option is never to go above the containers. Try to put everything in the container, because inside the container you must have installed a lot of virtual machines. You must have installed on that each virtual machine you must have installed a lot of complex softwares. Migration can get difficult if you're not using containers then in that case. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's 50, and I want to leave you all and give some time, have some relax and have your tea, and then join your next lecture. We will meet tomorrow at 3 p.m. and continue forward with this cloud platforms. I'll get my earphone charged by that time. So, thank you so much, and have a good day. Bye.